Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. All right, everybody, we are back. And if you don't know this young lady, you haven't been following the station because she's one of the most popular and really taken off. It's the one and only Michelle Dickey, helping so many people.
Hello, Casey and everybody. It's great to be back for another great episode.
Well, you got some great topics today, my friend. And if you don't mind, just before we get there, can you kind of just bring people in case we're picking up some new people who don't know what you're about and how many people that you're helping and how you're doing it?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yes. At Consulting for Heightened Awareness. So we're a non-denominational spiritual ministry. We specialize in narcissistic abuse and trauma recovery with God's wisdom, where we help people overcome the trauma triggers, overcome the various aspects associated with that traumatization that comes from the abuse, and to help them get further along in their healing and spiritual growth. And that spiritual growth is closer to God. And so in doing so, for him to guide us, guide our steps and then guide us into our God-given purpose and to get over, I call it that rainbow. Okay. And there's spiritual awakening and the healing process. We get over that rainbow to the other side where we finally get that balance between the spiritual and the physical. And so that we can maintain our peace, maintain our emotional regulation, because we realize that we don't let that outside external, that abuse anymore, because it becomes really familiar. So we're educating and raising awareness about all the red flags, all of the things that the narcissistic abusers do, because there's different flavors of them. And so a lot of survivors, we all went through this where, okay, so we've identified this one, and then now we start to see, same, abusive behaviors in others that we didn't notice it. Because remember, we were isolated. We were in a bubble, with that abuser. So we didn't notice this stuff. And so we get back out in the world and we start to pick up on, okay, there's other predators, as we've talked about them, because that's what they are. They're out there always, looking to see who they can, steal, kill, and destroy. And it's just crazy making that we all have to wrap our head around.
Yeah.
And so, I provide a lot of that. I'm not the only one, by the way. There's several of us out here who are a ministry, and we all minister.
You're a tight group. You're a tight group, you guys.
We are. We are. Because we relate to each other.
Yeah. The camaraderie. You just got
exactly.
You've been through it together, and you're getting through it.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. That's why I say I invite people on this journey with us, because that's what it is. It's a whole new journey. Yeah. Once we get out there and to overcome the fear of the unknown. And speaking of, I now have 3 videos on the website available.
Is this a big announcement?
Yes. All right. Yep. 3 videos available for those who are needing, if you need that reminder that you're not crazy, okay, that what you're experiencing, once you realize that was abuse, and we go through different phases, okay, different stages, and it's all normal. Okay. And, right. Because the abuser wants us to think that we're the ones going crazy, but we're not. Because what we realize is that all of these things that we experience especially in the very beginning, are normal responses to an abnormal circumstance. That narcissistic abuse, that's not normal.
Well put.
Right. So the first video number 1, about 46 minutes. Okay. And I talk about the top 5 tips. Okay. Overcoming the want to confront the abuser. Okay, and then overcoming a little bit of that animosity that we all have at first. I mean, rightfully so. We just realize, whoa, this person is not who we thought they were. They're evil. And so we're going to have a little bit of that. We overcome it, and then overcoming the anger kind of associated with it. Because, how did we even allow ourselves, could go through a little bit of that. And then overcoming that initial shock. Because, when that rug is pulled out from under you with their true colors show, and you're like, wait a second. So it takes a while. And then to overcome that fear of the unknown. Right. So all of those are in there because it's real talk with God's wisdom videos. Okay. It's real talk, just very conversational, very similar to what I do on YouTube, and these videos are specific to on a more, I want to say, personal level. Okay, that what they're experiencing with all of that is normal. And so a lot of survivors, that's what they need to know, and they need to understand it's normal. You're going to go through that, and you will overcome it. And so then video number 2 branches out from that, where after you begin to overcome that initial shock and you've accepted, okay, the abuse occurred, then you enter that ruminating phase that we spoke about, okay, previously. That ruminating phase and what it is and how that is also a normal part of the process. And how that leads into accepting that the narcissistic abuser is a narcissistic abuser. Okay, get there. And then video number 3 branches out from that. The number 2 is about 30 minutes, and then the third one is about 20 minutes, where I dive into that radical acceptance phase that, you know what, these predators are out there. It is what it is, and we just have to learn at that point. We learn to turn over full control, like relinquishing all control over to God, so that we can finish healing and get in our purpose.
Yep.
So that's what those are for.
That's awesome. All right. So those are available once again
on the website. Yep. That's cdhrwdrmd.org. And you'll find it in the navigation menu down at the bottom. It says Real Talk Videos. Click on that link, and all 3 of them are there. And just like everything digital on the website, you can download those on up to 3 devices and keep them in your digital library and shelf for how, it's your reference. You've got that to go back to anytime during the healing process you feel something resurfacing and you go, I need to listen to this again, make sure I'm not the crazy one. Sometimes that helps.
Gotcha. And I just want to let you know, Mr. Producer got me some information. Your last video isn't ready yet. They are working on it, and it will be ready very soon. So check in a few days.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Will do. Yeah, no problem. I mean, I know they'll get it to you, get stuff to you. Hey, it is what it is. I just wanted to kind of.
Yeah, you just want to know what's going on. Okay.
Just an update. That's all.
Okay. So I have in my notes to ask you about 3 stages. What are we talking about in 3 stages?
Okay, well, that's what I just mentioned about when we're talking about the stages, more about
those were the videos. The 3 were the videos.
Yeah, that's what that was. Those 3 videos, and then several different stages. That's like about 7 to 8 stages with those 3 videos.
Okay. All right. So, so that makes it clear.
Okay.
All right.
But here's one of these stages, if you will, for the love bombing that the narcissistic abuser does.
Can you explain to us what that is first, in case people don't know?
Okay, yeah, for those who aren't familiar with the love bombing, that basically is the process where the narcissistic abuser will dish out a bunch of excessive flattery, and then, push-pull, flattery, devalue, and that creates a chemical, a brain chemistry thing, a chemical addiction to the abuser. To getting us trauma bonded. That's what it is, an addiction to the abuser, and then in turn the abuse. We didn't know that yet till we got out of it. It's like, whoa, okay. And one of the ways they do that with love bombing is mirroring. And I wanted, where they copy their target. And I wanted to break this down to help people understand what it is and what it's not.
Please do.
Okay? All right, the mirroring, narcissistic abusers all of them will do some copycat behavior, in some way, shape, or form. But you do have a flavor of narcissistic abusers out there who will mirror their target to the T. And I mean, like everything their target likes, dislike anything their target dislikes. I mean, everything. It's like they present themselves as an exact replica of their target, and it blows the survivor's mind later on, and rightfully so, because we grew up knowing that no 2 people are gonna be identical. Even your identical twin are gonna have differences. So we were like, this really shocks us. So when one of these narcissistic abusers who does that comes at us and they mirror everything, they like, let's say you like to go fishing, as our fellow warrior shared that example in the duel that we did on the YouTube channel. You'll actually, if you go to that Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance YouTube channel, you'll scroll down, you'll see the thumbnail where it's myself and our fellow warrior. Okay, you'll see it, the two of us. And he shares his story regarding this mirroring and why it's one of the things that take a good bit to wrap your head around, how another person can do that. Like, and almost so well that you don't even see it happening. Because, oh my gosh, this person likes to go fishing. No one else is ever liked to go fishing. This is great. This is awesome. So it builds up that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like they want the person that's being the victim. They want to say, "Oh my God, no one's ever understood me this way. I can't believe it. I have so much in common with this person."
Exactly, because people we're gonna have things in common, right?
But not everything.
Yeah, but not everything. That's exactly right. It reminds me of your starburst, if you don't mind, I'm gonna bring that example because it's a really good way to tell what mirroring is not, how we're not gonna be the same. Like, I believe it was the orange and lemon ones. You're like, you don't like those.
Right.
So yeah, if it was a narcissistic abuser, however, they too would not like those.
Okay, perfect. Got it.
So that's how they do it, and so they'll like everything their target likes. And the one thing he shared that revealed it to him, as far as when they broke up the first time, they broke up, and she became and went back to the ex, and she became a complete replica of the ex and a whole different person. He was like, wait a minute, that's not who. And of course, he's still trauma bonded. He shared that. I'm gonna let that go with that video for anybody who's interested in hearing that, because it's really heartfelt and very spot on about how the mirroring can do this and how it is part of the formation of the trauma bond to make the target think that they have found their soulmate.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but it's sick.
You know what? That is something we all come to realize later on. It is very sick how they do this because they don't have their own identity. They don't. So that's why they're so easily able to do that. Okay, it's just mind blowing once we see that, and they're able to shift that. They shift their persona based on whoever it is that they've targeted, and they will shape their own personalities that they will take on that of the target, and to make the target think that they found just another one of them. And it's just like, okay. And then we realized later on that, okay, yeah, that's not normal.
Right.
Yeah. And right. So, but I also want to share what mirroring is not. Okay. Because we all adopt, good manners, good techniques. And so, for example, like when I did the duel, I adopted compliments to your grandmother, Casey, that I adopted the common courtesy that I have learned, from you. That's a good one. That when he came on, it was about his story. So I just got right into it after I introduced him and everything. And I said, all right, I'm going to give the floor to you, my friend. Okay, that's not mirroring. That's just adopting a good mannerism. Respect. I like it because it lets him know, okay, it's yours to go with, share your story, and we go from there.
It's kindness.
Yeah, that's not mirroring. That's learning. We got to learn, good manners, courtesy, respect, things like that from each other. And then the sharing of good ideas. I've got a couple fellow warriors. We go back and forth and we're brainstorming. And so, like, I'll pick, if I pick out a color scheme or whatever, they're like, oh, I like that. But is there any way to keep the swirlies, but we get rid of that black background? And I was like, I have to work on that. Sharing of good ideas.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not
collaboration.
That's it right there. Cooperation, absolutely. With iron sharpening iron.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what all of us.
Example.
It is. It really is, because as even I'm learning all of this industry, iron sharp. I'm helping raise awareness. A lot of people are getting educated, and then you all are teaching me how this whole thing works. iron sharpening iron, as God tells us it should do, right? For us to help each other out and benefit humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's all about. But when the narcissistic abuser is doing a mirroring, it means they have no self-identity. So they're going to. So that serves as a fantastic red flag that when we meet somebody new, and then that's part of how they study us in the beginning too, because a lot of times we realize we're very, very open with our likes and our dislikes, especially if we're like, oh, this person's into me or whatever. You start dating, you really like each other, and then they start to pick up on and personalize for themselves their target own like and dislikes. Okay, so when you see that, a few things in common. Okay, that's fine. All right, okay, and then of course observing further, and but if it turns into being every single thing, to where that narcissistic abuser is with you all the time, like everything you're doing. And that's really another reason why they do that. Those who do it because it's the way they want to keep tabs on their target.
I see.
Okay. A form of control. And then, like I said, in the duel, in a way, it's a real creepy way of actually stalking, right? Stalking right there in plain sight.
Yeah.
It's just because in a normal, healthy relationship, you gotta have a little bit of space, breathing
you
room.
Appreciate that, you appreciate it. Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
I've heard that. Yes. There you go. It's like, because if you're like joined at the hip all the time, with everything, and you have no breathing room. Well, I'll tell you why a narcissistic abuser would do that as well, is because they know that if you do have some time away to think, and he covers that as well, because he realized that too, that if you had time away and to think and to clear the mind a little bit, that you would probably start to pick up on, okay, hold up a second, something's a little off here.
Yeah.
And so that narcissistic abuser wants to keep that trauma bond really, really tight so that you don't have the opportunity to do that.
You said it was control. You said it was a control thing.
Bottom line, right there, exactly. And to know also, who you're talking to, what you're talking about, who else you're hanging out with, and it's just all of that.
Possessive and jealous, all those things you told me.
That's it, right there, out of jealousy. That's so spot on, because it kind of really goes in line with what a lot of us have learned, how they have this mentality. Some of them like that have this mentality where it's like they don't really want us, and they don't want anyone else to have us either. So it's that psychopathic mentality.
Yeah, and you've always said it's like a child. It's like it's a child that wants everything, doesn't want anyone else to have it. Mine, mine, mine.
Exactly. Reminds me of a meme I've seen going around out there. It's so spot on, where it has a child who's got like a bunch of toys. It's got a bunch of toys, right? And then there's this other little child in the drawing. Another little child over here just has one little toy, and that child that's got all these toys got their hand out, will try to take that child's toy. I mean, that's how these narcissistic abusers are. I mean, I know it's funny, and not in the comedy type way, right. But that is exactly how these toddlers in adult bodies are. Where they want it all for themselves. And that hoarding mentality. It's like they got to have everything, and of course to make it all about them as well.
Right.
So there's another part of it. So yeah, they have to be involved in everything. With the mirroring side of it, they got to be involved in everything that their target is involved in. Got to go everywhere their target is going, and it is just very clingy and suffocating. And if I have a video on the YouTube channel where I talk about how these narcissistic abusers are, they're clinging, they're suffocating. I mean, it's like it's like they take all the oxygen out of the air. That's a metaphor we use because it's true. They drain their target of their energy, and so it's pretty exhausting when you've got someone that's like joined at your hip all the time, every second of the day, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so that's a big reason why they do it too, because they've got to know, everything, make it kind of like really making sure that you're not figuring them out.
Yeah.
Really.
Got it. Oh,
That's one of
that's
the big,
great. That's great. That's great that you gave us both. You said what mirror is and mirroring isn't. You gave us
right.
both. That was good.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I felt it was necessary because we won't get
Totally
anybody.
necessary.
Yeah, we don't want anybody to get tripped up. If you do happen to meet someone and let's say your favorite color happens to be the same favorite color, you never met them before. Okay, so we don't want anybody to go, ooh, and think, oh, maybe I'm dealing with an arc. No, 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 no. Okay, some people are gonna have that in common who have never met before. Okay, and same, they like the same color. They have their favorite color happens to be the same one. That's not mirroring. You never met them before, so it takes further, a little bit further observation and a little time to be able to determine whether they are actually mirroring.
Yeah.
And you'll know, because if you once you start to feel like the person is all of a sudden wanting to go everywhere you go, or all of a sudden, yeah, well, I like that too, and well, I want to do that too, and just always just like not wanting to give you any breathing space. I mean, your intuition will tell you. Then you're like, okay, hold up a second. You might be
Yeah.
dealing with one. So there's some differences. We always want to keep that in mind, being vigilant and aware, how God tells us, be wise as a serpent, but gentle as a dove. So that's part of it right there. Being wise is to be able to spot the differences between them. Because, again, like some people might not like sweet potatoes, we're not gonna have everything in common,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It's the bottom line, but we will have something.
Right.
So, it's just really all about that, that intuition and just knowing and getting well educated, like get well versed in what the red flags really are.
Hmm.
Okay. And the fact that there's a bunch of different flavors out there of these narcissistic abusers, unfortunately, because that what it means is that they're going to dish out the same patterns of abuse, but there'll be slight variations in how they do it. And so, but once you're well versed in the the underlying the basic, okay, foundation with the pattern of abuse, you'll be able to detect it easier as to whether or not that person is dishing out narcissistic abuser and then in turn is an abuser, because there's different ways that they'll get what a gaslight is and what it isn't, and that's for another day. But we'll eventually break that down. But there's a lot of us out here that can tell you, because what has happened is a lot of survivors, whenever if they're still easily triggered. Okay, and we put out a statement of observation or something that, a factual thing like, hey, you got to remember what a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I had one who did that because there's something that's going on that they got to work out that salvation with God for themselves. But when I reminded them of that, they thought that I was gaslighting. And I said, absolutely not. I'm just trying to remind you, being mindful, because what a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And so the enemy knows that too. That's a big reason why all these abusers dish out that abuse, because it wants us to get tricked into engaging in that negative self-talk. In other words, in turn, gaslighting ourselves, verbally abusing ourselves, telling ourselves that we can't do this or whatever, So that's a big part of being that mindfulness with our thoughts, because that's what we think about ourselves, in our hearts. So are we? And so it's like, okay, and we have to be very mindful of that. And that's why we don't want to let those negative thoughts get in there, because that's the enemy trying to get in there and control those thoughts.
Gotcha.
So we
Michelle,
learn.
great points again. We're getting at the end here, so let me give you the floor. Anything you want us to think about, especially in this holiday season, and I hope you and your family have a great Thanksgiving, by the way, and to everyone, have a great Thanksgiving. But let me give you the floor. Let people know how to get a hold of you, because you're doing such great work, and that was a great show. That mirroring thing was something to really think about. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good one.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. As always. And that really is something to think about. But as far as this time of year, for anyone who may have toxic family members, okay, you're not alone. You have the authority and the power in you from God and Jesus. You do not have to allow yourself to tolerate it. Okay, you can get up and walk away from any chaos and drama. You absolutely can, to protect your mental health and your peace. And you don't let anyone make you feel guilty for doing that. You need to take a half hour, an hour, or whatever away from it. Okay, that's natural. It's fine. So I just want to leave everybody with that it's okay. And you can always reach me at 704-245-4340, or you can send me an email at michelle.dickey@cdhrwdrmd.org. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your support. Until next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Happy Thanksgiving. Michelle Dickey, everybody, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.